All right, folks, welcome back to the Big Steve Malzberg Show. And we're just moments away from being joined by Stephen Moore, Chief Economist for the Heritage Foundation. And want to get his take on everything economic, including something we talked about in the last hour, which was that 1 in 6 American men between the ages of 25 and 54 are not working. We also have a report on the press coverage of the poor economic news. For instance, CNN Money put up after yesterday's GDP number, which was pathetic. U.S. economy shrinks, but it's not a big deal. Thank you, CNN, for telling us that it's not a big deal, that the economy shrunk in that quarter. When again is it a big deal? They attribute that to weather, and it may be attributable in good part to weather. That might actually be true. But nonetheless, to put that in a headline, why not talk about how it shrank, how much it shrank by, and give possible reasons by quoting people as to what they believe the reasons were, and then let the reader decide based on the facts. Shouldn't there be facts if it's not an editorial? And this wasn't an editorial. This was a headline of a news story. But never let that get in the way of of anything. And then we have another story that I want to ask Steve about. There's a new federal database that will track all of every American's credit ratings, social security number, every loan we ever took out. All of our financial information will be tracked by the U.S. government. But we are joined by Stephen Moore right now. Hello, Steve.
Hey, Steve. Great to be with you.
Great to talk to you. But before we get to
Weren't you excited about the new GDP report? We actually retreated in the first quarter. We had less growth. The economy is smaller at the end of March than it was in January.
But Steve, as I just alluded to, CNN Money yesterday, their headline was U.S. economy shrinks, but it's not a big deal.
Yeah, but it's good news.
Yeah, and NBC said, blame old man Winter.
Yeah, by the way, they act as if we've never had blizzards or cold weather before. And these numbers are seasonally adjusted, which means, they take account of the fact that it's colder in the winter and that there's less economic activity. Even accounting for that, we had a lousy quarter. Look, I think the economy is picking up a little bit, certainly in the last couple of months. But this is still a dreadful performance, Steve. I mean, do you know that I'm going to give you a statistic that I think will knock your socks off. $2 trillion is how much lower the GDP is, our total national output and income. $2 trillion lower than it would be if we had an expansion like we had under Reagan.
Wow. That is mind-boggling.
That's like $10,000 per family.
That is something. And Steve, when you combine that with also numbers out from the Republicans on the Senate Budget Committee, that a record 1 in 8 American men, are not in their prime. Are in their prime working years, are not in the labor force. 1 in 6 men between 25 and 54 are not working, and this is the numbers not seen since they began keeping these records in 1955. When does the people wake up?
Well, what's going on here is a couple things. I mean, one is it is a lousy economy, and it is harder to find jobs, no question about it. But that's not the whole story here. I mean, it's not just that the jobs are fewer. It's that there are a lot fewer Americans even looking for work. And, that is to say, remember, we were providing 2 years of unemployment benefits. We've got 48 million people on food stamps. We have a record. And by the way, Obama thinks that's stimulus, right? The more people on food stamps, the more people on unemployment, the better it is for the economy.
Right.
So they loaded up on the stuff. They made the benefits more generous. And there's this great economics professor at the University of Chicago called Casey Mulligan, and he's done a lot of analysis of this. This drives the left crazy, which shows that when you increase these benefits, I know this is going to shock you. When you pay people not to work, Steve, guess what?
They don't work.
They don't work. Now, that, to me and you and the people listening to the show, that's common sense. But in academia, you're not allowed to say that kind of thing. It's racist, by the way. That's a racist comment.
Oh, well, how is that?
Well, I don't know. I don't know how it is racist, but they say it's racist.
Oh, okay, I know if we had directed it about I know why. It's an Obama policy, and we don't like it, and we think it's counterproductive. So then it is racist. You're right. Right?
Well, the left thinks that the people who are minorities were. By the way, I would say they were being racist by saying it's racist because they're implying that the people who get welfare are all minorities.
Right, right. Now, I mean, but it always comes back to this, Steve. Whenever you're on, I always say, but Obama's not a stupid man. He knows what he's doing, and he sees what's happening, and he understands that people are dropping out of the workforce, giving up 48% in a recent poll who are unemployed and have stopped looking. They've just disappeared as a statistic. He knows what's going on, and this has to be what he wants.
No. This is the one thing you and I disagree on, and we very rarely disagree. I think my explanation is he drinks his own Kool-Aid. He really thought that, all these programs, they were going to create this, workers' paradise and everybody was going to get rich, and the liberal model of governance in central planning that's never worked anywhere at any time in human history, that somehow this time it was going to work because, well, let's face it, a lot of liberals have this distorted view of history. My son came home the other day, just to give you an example. He's 13, pretty bright kid, but he's taking American history. And I said to him, well, who do you think was the greatest president? He said Franklin Roosevelt. And I said, why is that? Well, Franklin Roosevelt is the one who got us out of the Great Depression. And, I walked him through it. I said, well, wait a minute. Franklin Roosevelt became president in 1933. The Great Depression didn't end until 1941, 8 years later. How did he get us out of the Great Depression? But this is what the history books tell people.
Yep.
We make a big mistake, Steve. I wrote a column on this week. We're letting the left, even though their ideas never work, we always let them write the history books. And they're writing the history books of the last 6 or 7 years. And that history is Barack Obama came in on his white horse and saved the economy from a second Great Depression. And thank goodness he came in with all these programs, or else we'd be, And I'm like, well, what are we in right now?
Well,
my God.
Let me tell you a story. My son just the other day, he's 14, and he often talks politics with his friends. I tell him not to. He can't help himself, unfortunately. And he says that these people in the school, the kids, and they must hear this from their parents, the reason that things are so bad on any issue is because of the mess George Bush made.
Right, of course. I wonder if there's ever a statute of limitations on that.
No, because it's an illness.
They've been saying that for 6 years, and they'll probably be saying it for 16 years.
It's Bush derangement syndrome, so it's an illness. I don't think.
Well, this is again. It goes back to history. The Democrats ran against Herbert Hoover for 40 years.
Yeah,
that's
true. That's true. All right, let me ask you about the VA resignation of Shinseki today and the way it was handled by the president. Again, in my view, whether missing an opportunity, whether it would have been showmanship or not, but at least presenting himself as a leader. Even here, well, he resigned, and I regrettably took it, very regrettably, and I guess he was right. He's going to be a distraction, and and there's no proactiveness on the part of this man.
Yeah, but I have a little bit of a different spin on this story. First of all, it is a catastrophe what's happened to the Veterans Administration, healthcare services, and the hospitals. It's really a disgrace. That the people who should be getting the best health care in our country, for serving our country, and these brave and patriotic Americans are getting these unbelievably lousy healthcare treatments. But this problem, this goes beyond Barack Obama. This problem has been going on for 25 years at the VA. Now, it's gotten worse under Obama because of neglect. But the fact is, this is what happens when you have the government run an industry. Why can't we just let the veterans have a voucher and go out and buy health care anywhere they want to? Go to any hospital. We should put these people at the Mayo Clinic, for goodness sake. They deserve the best, and we give them the worst, Steve.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And more people are starting to talk about giving them a card and let them go. How many hospitals do they have to pass by on their way to the Veterans Hospital?
Exactly.
Just let them go to the
nearest
hospital.
They have to wait for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
But Steve, the critical point, this is a teachable moment for the American people. There have been 2 reports in the last 3 or 4 weeks. First, this one on the VA about the disgrace of what's happening there and people literally dying waiting for treatment. And the second one, I don't know if you saw the report a few weeks ago, it didn't get a lot of attention, about Medicaid. Medicaid has double the fatality rate for people on private insurance.
Yep.
Because they get such horrible care. Why do we think, given these numbers, that Obamacare is going to be the solution to our problems? Ladies and gentlemen, we're getting on board the Titanic here.
We absolutely are, and that's something that I think has to be drummed home to the people, because this is just a prelude to what's going to happen to all of us with rationing and with overcrowdedness and not being able to see a doctor. And absolutely, it's on the horizon, because it happens in Canada, it happens in Britain, and it's going to happen here.
And it's happening in Medicaid, it's happening at the VA, and everybody's, there's a big difference between having health. What the VA crisis tells us, there's a big difference between having health care insurance and getting quality health care.
Sure.
Right? Yeah, these people have insurance. It's just they have to wait, 6 months to get a knee replacement or to, have heart surgery. Or they have to, they get the worst kind of medications and so on. And they can't see a doctor. You may be insured, but if you can't see a doctor, you can't get a treatment. You're not, your medical problems are not being dealt with. And most of us would never put up with that. And we require the people who put on our uniform and defend our country.
It is disgraceful, and it is frightening to think. And today, Barack Obama said that after he announced the resignation, that it's going to take more money and more doctors.
That's ridiculous. Gosh, Steve, you're just this crisis makes me so angry. You keep pushing my buttons here. I mean, the VA budget has tripled. This is not a problem, ladies and gentlemen, of not enough money.
Of course not. Everything,
not enough money.
Everything comes down to that.
Thinks the solution, everything is more money.
Everything, whether it's schools or medical facility, everything is more money. And by the way, where's he going to get these doctors and nurses from when we have a doctor shortage in this country?
Exactly.
That's another thing that's so frightening. What's your take on Hillary and the excerpt from her book being released today on a chapter on Benghazi, where basically she said that I'm not going to participate in this exploitation of four dead Americans, and if they're going to do it, they're going to have to do it without me.
I mean, first of all, I guess the way to summarize the chapter is that Americans get over it, and no, we're not going to get over this. I mean, no, this was a great scandal and crisis that happened, and we want to get to the bottom of this. We want to know what happened, what her role was. Wait a minute, she wants to be the commander-in-chief. Now, this gets to her core competence, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely, without a doubt, and that's something that along with her health and age, just like McCain and Reagan and all the others had to answer, she's going to have to answer to all of those questions, even though she's trying to preempt it here. Stephen, always great to talk to you, sir.
All right. See you soon.
Take care. Stephen Moore, ladies and gentlemen, chief economist at the Heritage Foundation. Very, very, I love the way he gets passionate. And somehow we disagree on very few things. We agree on most things, and I love bringing up a topic where he just goes, yeah, and he gets very emotional about it. All right, when we come back, it's once again, as I look at the clock, it's once again time for the Malsberg panel, and we'll welcome back Peter Marisi, economist, a professor at the University of Maryland, a Newsmax contributor, and C. Edmund Wright, Breitbart.com, American thinker, author, all that. We'll talk about the economic issues that we just went over, and much, much more. Oh yeah, you know that. So don't go away. You know where you are. The Steve Malsberg Show on Newsmax Television.